All right. I think we're good to go. All right. Hello, everybody. Let's get this party started. All right. Before we begin, I would like to go over a few accessibility options for everyone. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided tonight. Everyone will need to make a choice to listen to the presentation either in English or Spanish. To use the Zoom interpretation feature from a computer or laptop, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are, then click the interpretation icon. Select English or Spanish. If you're using Zoom mobile app from your phone or tablet, click on the ellipses that says More, then Interpretation, and then you can choose your language. To only hear the interpreted language, click Mute Original Audio. Please note, American Sign Language is also available today, and we also offer captions for this meeting. So to enable or disable captions, click the More button and choose Captions. I will hand things over to our interpreter for the Spanish portion.
Buenas tardes, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Vamos a comenzar y a dar las instrucciones para que entren al canal de español, ya que esta presentación se llevará a cabo de forma simultánea en español. En el momento que indiquen, después de dar estas instrucciones, ustedes verán en la parte inferior del computador un globo terráqueo. Lo puede oprimir y elegir español en este caso. Si desea solamente escuchar una voz, que es la voz del intérprete, puede apagar el audio original. Y también si nos acompaña a través de un teléfono inteligente o una tableta, esta función la va a encontrar en los 3 puntos donde dice More. Usted desglosa la lista, elige lenguaje de interpretación, aprieta español y es muy importante que apriete la palabra done para poder ejecutar la acción. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay. Sorry, I keep getting all these notices. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Annalena Paez. I'm an air pollution specialist here at CARB, along with planning the evening community meetings each month. My work is strongly focused on outreach and education in the northern and central regions of California for the light duty and clean mobility incentives. I'm also the tribal coordinator for the Mobile Source Control Division. I will be facilitating the evening community meeting tonight, an effort to help with coordination with the Clean Transportation Incentives Funding Plan. But I would also like to take this opportunity to share program updates and coordinate presentations on topics of public interest, which can vary from month to month depending on what type of feedback we get from you all. Okay, before moving forward, I would like to take a minute to acknowledge our fantastic team of folks that help with the facilitation of these meetings every month. It's a huge lift in planning these, and we wouldn't be able to hold these meetings with such consistency if it wasn't for all the volunteers from CARB staff. We value your time and very much appreciate your efforts. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to take a quick minute to introduce a new staff member that will be helping with the co-planning with the monthly meetings. Noemi Vitela, if you can, please just hop on for a quick minute and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Noemi Vitela. I'm also part of CARB and I will be part of the team planning these evening community meetings. Nice to see you all.
Awesome. All right, before we continue, there are a few housekeeping items we need to address. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our meetings and workshops webpage in about 2 weeks. This will include the agenda, slides, and attendee list. Staff will drop a link in the chat where this information can be found. Next slide, please. All right. Second. Okay, can someone confirm? Okay, never mind, I can see it. All right, meeting agreements. These meetings are about community and sharing information. Our meeting agreements are here to alleviate challenges and are as follows. Be respectful. Let's be kind and create a comfortable space for everyone to share their thoughts and experiences. Take space and/or make space. If you have a lot to say, great. We encourage you to ask questions, but please be mindful and leave room for others to participate as well. We all get really excited and passionate, but let's give others some space too. Listen to understand. Listen without judgment or jumping to conclusions. Consider equity. We all aim to develop solutions with fairness and equity in mind. People from all over California and from all walks of life are here to work together on the clean transportation incentives. These diverse perspectives can help and overcome so many barriers. So let's try to work together. With these agreements in mind, let's continue. Next slide, please. So, some of you are new here. What is the purpose of the evening community meetings? What are they? Well, our annual funding plan development process involves daytime public workshops and work group meetings on various incentive projects. However, we understand community members face unique challenges attending these meetings compared to the representatives from industry, government, and non-government agencies. We all got to work and pick up kids, and we understand. So CARB continues to host monthly evening community meetings to make it easier for community members and people not associated with an organization or company to engage with us. If you are if you do represent an organization or company that can attend daytime meetings, we welcome you to listen to evening meetings to hear individuals and community concerns. However, we ask that you please save your comments and questions and share them at daytime meetings so evening community meetings can be a space for individuals and community members. Our goals for these meetings are to provide space for community voices and priorities, brainstorm solutions for clean transportation needs, highlight key funding plan information, foster ongoing communication between staff and community. Next slide. For tonight's meeting, we have 2 items on our agenda. First up for tonight, we have Leilani Viramontes presenting a summary on the Funding Plan Workgroup for Clean Mobility Investments. Then followed by Arvin Ocampo summarizing the San Diego County Tribal and Rural Clean Energy and Mobility Tour. Sorry, it's a mouthful, I know. We will have a Q&A after each topic. I will now hand things over to my colleague Leilani to continue with the presentation. Next slide.
Thanks, Adelina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leilani Viramontes, and today I'll be providing a recap of our first funding plan work group for the Clean Mobility Investments, which occurred on June 20th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Next slide, please. Our individual and community mobility investments help CARB make progress on our institutional goals and help aid California communities. Overall, these investments strive to improve air quality and public health, accelerate zero-emission vehicle deployment, prioritize funding community-identified solutions, and alleviate environmental harms that are disproportionately felt by some communities due to historical inequities. In today's presentation, we'll be providing updates on the clean mobility investments, which are shown in the slide on the right. Regional Clean Mobility Options, or CMO, were the initial pilots that provided shared mobility services. These pilots have helped CARB gain valuable insights into the clean mobility landscape and refine strategies for solicitation, selecting, and implementing these kinds of investments. Statewide CMO was created following the pilots, which provides funds for small-scale shared mobility projects. The Sustainable Transportation Equity Project, or STEP, funds complementary investments to expand mobility choices and reduces vehicle miles traveled in response to community-identified priorities. Clean Mobility in Schools supports clean transportation, air quality improvement, and education projects at K-12 public schools. Lastly, Planning and Capacity Building are community-led planning projects that include dedicated, localized technical assistance. We'll start with an overview of the regional pilots. Next slide, please. Since fiscal year 2014 to 15, the regional pilot project's $23.9 million has funded various types of projects, such as zero-emission car sharing, van pools, ride-hailing services, shuttles, bicycle and scooter sharing, transit passes, outreach and education, trip planning, infrastructure, and maintenance. 5 of the 7 regional pilots have completed. This includes the Agricultural Worker Van Pools Pilot Project, Car Sharing and Mobility Hubs at Affordable Housing Pilot Project, Ecosystems of Shared Mobility in the San Joaquin Valley, Liftline Paratransit Dial-a-Ride EV Transition Program, and Valley Air ZEV Mobility Pilot Project. 2 of the regional pilots, Blue LA, or the LA City Car Sharing Pilot Project, and Our Community Car Share Sacramento, have operations that are being retailored for continued service as CARB's involvement comes to a close. Next slide, please. CARB contracted the UC Berkeley's Transportation Sustainability Research Center to study the pilots, CMO, and STEP and their impacts on communities. The study found that Sacramento's Our Community Car Share successfully implemented an affordable and flexible service. Users surveyed reported 88% faster travel times and 67% expanded travel range. It also found that Our Community Car Share had increased access to schools by 75%, to grocery shopping by 71%, and to healthcare by 69%. The study found that the Blue LA Car Share program successfully lowered transportation costs for users. Roughly 4% of users got rid of a personal vehicle, 30% suppressed the purchase of a personal vehicle, and 10% reduced their personal vehicle driving due to Blue LA. Please note that the Mobility Workgroup on June 20th touched on additional details, including challenges and lessons learned for each project. For the regional pilots, this touched on car share operators' struggle to generate revenue to cover capital and operating costs. If you are interested in more details and learning about challenges and lessons learned for each project, we encourage you to watch the recording of our work group, which my colleague will drop the link in the chat for. Next slide, please. Critical component of the regional pilot projects was listening to community feedback through surveys, focus groups, user testimonials, and local resident site-level teams. Sacramento's Our Community Car Share found that most members who responded to a post-trip survey answered that they would not have been able to make a trip if an Our Community Car Share vehicle was not available. Project surveys reported that the majority of members, over 60%, used our community car share services to access groceries and household goods, and 35% of those members did not have access to a vehicle prior to our community car share. Our community car share is serving a critical need, and members want transportation services to be maintained. This concludes our discussion of the regional clean mobility pilots as the program transitioned to the statewide Clean Mobility Options Voucher Pilot Program. Next slide, please. This slide provides an overview of the Clean Mobility Options, or CMO, statewide voucher pilot project, which has $64.2 million in project funds allocated to date for mobility project vouchers. A portion of these funds also come from the California Energy Commission. Please note that Clean Mobility Options has also previously funded community transportation needs assessments, but these will be captured in the planning and capacity building overview. CMO funds many project types similar to the regional pilots, such as zero-emission car sharing, on-demand shuttles, vans and buses, ride-on-demand services, school buses, electric and regular bicycle and scooter sharing, and carpooling and vanpooling. CMO has also funded 38 mobility projects, of which 21 have launched and are active in their communities. Some projects that have recently launched include the City of Riverside's Hydrogen Fuel Cell Car Share Program and the Energy Coalition's Car Share Program in South El Monte. The statewide CMO program is administered by CARB's grantee, CalSTART, and their partners Shared Use Mobility Center, Emergent Labs, and Hartquist Strategies. This team works hard to make sure that the program operates consistently with its intended goals and to support each project. Next slide, please. This slide shows strong evidence that CMO projects are truly increasing mobility and accessibility in the communities they serve. For example, in the first 17 months, Reading Bike Share served over 2,600 unique users, with each user taking an average of 5.57 trips, showing strong uptake and repeated use. In Chula Vista, as of May 2023, the free electric shuttle program has provided over 29,000 trips for more than 275 users, many of whom rely on it regularly. These examples show how CMO is filling existing transportation gaps and directly improving access to key destinations for residents. These investments are also helping to address food access challenges by providing mobility options for residents living in food deserts, areas where it's difficult to access affordable, healthy food. Surveys show that 32% of trips are for grocery shopping and running errands. CMO also supports local jobs creation, helping create 120 new jobs as of 2024. In our workgroup presentation, we provided more details on data metrics and challenges and lessons learned, such as project delays, high insurance costs, and partnership challenges. Again, if you're interested in more details, please watch the recording of the workgroup. Next slide, please. Before we move on, we'd like to share a short video highlighting the launch of a Good2Go bike share project in Rancho San Pedro. This is a great example of how these projects are not only providing clean transportation, but also meeting people's everyday needs and improving quality of life for low-income residents.
Give me a second there. Sorry about that, you guys.
No worries. Thanks.
We're a private business that was founded as a nonprofit. Years ago, and so we've always had this sort of bicycling advocacy and street safety and just accessibility for pedestrians, bicyclists, and people who are choosing to use alternative forms of transportation.
I love to use bikes. Since I don't know how to drive, basically that's my car, It allows me to do my exercise. I have to go to do my errands, plus go to the grocery store. I don't have to pay for gas, and it's cheap, and it's eco-friendly,
Residents of Rancho San Pedro are able to download an application and use that application to rent a fleet of 20 e-bikes and multiple e-cargo bikes as well.
To rent the bike, if you don't have a helmet, they will provide you one. You have to pay 50 cents for an hour. But if you want like a subscription, you're gonna pay only $20 a month.
We haven't had to worry about some of the intricacies of compliance and the intricacies of just how to go about starting up this program. We're able to provide this service, at an affordable cost in a place where it's not already being provided in one way or another. So I hope that just having it available for people, being able to bake it into their normal everyday routines and those kinds of things would really be how we would like to see it.
Thanks, Will. Next slide, please. Now we'll be moving on to planning and capacity building, often referred to as planning. Planning and capacity building, or planning, has $14.5 million allocated to planning projects. This includes $1.7 million from STEP planning grants and $2.2 million from Clean Mobility Options Transportation Needs Assessments. Originally, STEP and CMO offered separate planning grants, but beginning with the most recent funding round, these efforts were consolidated into one category, planning and capacity building. That's why you'll see both programs represented here. One note is that the map on this slide doesn't yet reflect the newest round of 2023 to 24 planning grants. Planning supports communities by improving local understanding of transportation needs, building local and organizational capacity, and preparing communities to develop and implement clean transportation solutions. So far, there are 7 active planning grants underway, 8 completed STEP planning grants, and 36 needs assessments funded through CMO, 30 of which are now complete. Planning is supported by a statewide administrator team led by Data for Social Good in partnership with Momentum and the Institute for Sustainable Communities. This team administers the 7 active planning grants, provides implementation support to those grantees, and supports STEP and CMIS projects that were selected through the joint solicitation. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, planning grants were originally part of the STEP and CMO projects, but we made a deliberate decision to create a separate category because planning projects take significant time and require dedicated support and focused resources. This shift helps us better support early-stage, community-led planning, especially in under-resourced areas that need help strengthening their foundation and getting ready to pursue larger funding opportunities. Grantees have told us that planning grants are doing just that, further justifying the establishment of this distinct category. For example, City Heights and Omnitrans both started with planning grants and later secured full step implementation grants. Others developed valuable skills in mobility planning and project development that prepared them for next steps. A major takeaway is stronger partnerships lead to stronger outcomes. Circle of Life used our planning grant to deepen collaboration with the city of Bakersfield, which led to a successful Transformative Climate Communities grant. We also saw thoughtful community engagement. Isla Vista developed intentional strategies to engage Spanish-speaking community members, seniors, and low-income households. Next slide, please. When under-resourced communities receive effective capacity building support, they're better equipped to compete independently for future funding and implement projects that reflect their priorities. These early investments help shift the power to the community where it belongs. We've also seen the value in making cross-sector connections in transportation planning, linking projects to climate adaptation, workforce development, and anti-displacement strategies. These connections help build greater trust and encourage more meaningful participation. Just as important is who we include in the planning process. Seniors, the unhoused, single mothers, people often left out of traditional planning have a voice in these projects. When we actively include those most impacted, we create pathways to empowerment and better outcomes for everyone. Our work group presentation discussed challenges and lessons learned for planning, such as data collection and time and scope modifications. Again, if you are interested in more details, we encourage you to watch the recording of the work group. Next slide, please. We're excited to share that a new Planning Request for Applications, or RFA, is on the way to support even more community-led efforts. Here is what to expect. $7.3 million will be available to support at least 15 projects, with up to $500,000 available per project. We're also offering application support to help reduce barriers to participation, and we're encouraging interested communities to fill out our interest survey, which helps us better understand the needs and prepare resources accordingly. We're also actively seeking input from the public and tribal governments as we finalize the draft requirements to make sure the process is inclusive and responsive. This RFA is a great opportunity for new communities to begin their planning journey, and we're here to support them every step of the way. Next slide, please. Now moving on to the Sustainable Transportation Equity Project, or STEP, which funds coordinated, community-led projects that address local transportation needs and increase access to key destinations while reducing vehicle miles traveled. Each STEP grant includes multiple project types within one priority community that work together to make it easier for people to get around without owning a car. This place-based investment approach encourages growing and building new connections between existing transportation networks. STEP funds a variety of clean transportation and supporting projects, such as public transit and shared mobility services, pedestrian and bike infrastructure, land use planning and housing policy, workforce development, and clean transportation planning and education. To date, STEP has allocated $77.9 million across 11 implementation grants. The map on the slide shows the locations and amounts of these grants. Next slide, please. One success to highlight is the Stockton Mobility Collective Grant, which was among the original cohort of awardees and was completed in 2025. The project reduced 1,870 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent and 3.4 million vehicle miles traveled via community car and bike share programs in South Stockton. It featured a workforce development component in which paid fellows supported the bike and car share programs, and 6 of the 8 fellows were subsequently offered long-term positions. The grantee, San Joaquin Council of Governments, was presented with the Eureka Award by the California Association of Councils of Government in 2025. This award aims to recognize the creative leadership and thinking needed to develop and implement new ideas that can serve as examples or best practices for others to follow. Our workgroup presentation shared other project highlights for West Oakland and City Heights, as well as challenges and lessons learned for STEP, such as implementation challenges and communicating project benefits. If you're interested in more details on STEP, please watch the recording of the workgroup. Next slide, please. We'll now share a short video highlighting the Stockton Mobility Collective Grant.
This program has literally changed the course of my future because I'm getting more opportunities through the program. The best job about the job training program was just getting out there and getting the hands-on experience that I needed, and it was a great confidence builder also. I was unemployed, but I just barely signed the offer sheet with the Workforce Development Program.
We came up.
Thank you. Next slide, please. The last project we'll discuss today is Clean Mobility in Schools. Grants under this project fund coordinated, community-led investments that address school-related transportation needs and increase access to zero-emission technology, equipment, and education. To date, Clean Mobility in Schools has awarded $62.1 million to 8 unique school communities and will achieve an estimated 25,500 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gas reductions. The map on the slide shows the locations and general amounts of these grants. CMIS grants have funded zero-emission school buses, a variety of charging infrastructure and solutions, energy projects like solar canopies, zero-emission landscape, and custodial department equipment, and active modes of transportation such as bicycling and walking. Next slide, please. California public school districts are embracing clean technologies, supported by workforce training and student engagement programs. As the popularity of zero-emission technology grows, workforce development has been a key component to bridge the gap between education and industry. Many were initially skeptical of battery electric systems, so trainings began with basic safety, which addressed common concerns. Student programs have also made an impact. Stockton's Energy Patrol empowered students to promote energy-saving habits, while San Diego Lincoln High e-bike lending library paired bike access with safety training, building skills around responsibility and ownership. The El Monte Union High School District has an 80-foot wall mural showcasing the Future is Emission-Free campaign created by Pulitzer Prize-winning artist Lalo Alcaraz on display right next to the Pomona Freeway, which has over 300,000 cars pass every day. The newer grantee teams feature learnings from planning and community-led project efforts and include bike mechanic training and apprenticeships, on-the-ground transit ambassadors, and collaborations with student education tracks in the energy and environmental sustainability fields. Our workgroup presentation discussed challenges and lessons learned, including electric vehicle procurement and deployment. Next slide, please. Next up, we'll watch a final video that showcases exactly what I mean. Clean Mobility in Schools grants support a school-centric connection of zero-emission vehicles, mobility, and education. Here is a video from Stockton Unified School District showcasing their Earth Day event in April of this year.
SUSD celebrates Earth Day and celebrates clean air all year round. Let's take a look at what's going on.
Today's a significant day where Stockton Unify is starting our Earth Day. And the idea of this is to mesh our community with school together as looking at the entire child.
When I think of the people that are here,
It's such a great group of stakeholders. We have everything from our Congressman Harder here.
We're just excited to hold events like this.
To our board members.
We're going to tape the sides.
To our community leaders, our parents and students here. It really does take all of us to help support the whole child here at Stockton Unified.
It's so exciting to be here at Stockton Unified for Earth Day. We know how important it is to have an incredible relationship with our air, our water, our soil here in the Central Valley because we produce the nation's food. That's who we are. We're a group of farmers. And so it's so exciting to see the next generation of leaders that Stockton Unified is training and educating to go out and make sure that our environment continues to be passed down generation on generation.
I'm excited about the exposure our youth here is getting and hands-on, but also too, it's exciting to see those who are in charge of these different projects and resources here and visible to the community. I love coming out and doing these events for our community. I think it brings everyone together and just really highlights the work that we're doing to clean the air for our students in Stockton Unified.
This right here is the on and off switch.
Something that always warmed my heart, which is why I'm in the schools every day, is being with our students. Our students are our why. Our students are the reason why we're doing all the work that we're doing. And so whether it's from our preschool students up to our 22-year-old special education students, we want to do what's best for them, which means do what's best for them, their families, and the communities they live in.
SUSD is doing its part, but it has goals to become more environmental friendly within the next 2 years. I'm Melinda Meza with the Stockton Unified School District.
Can I get the next slide, please? We'll now transition to discussing future funding for the clean mobility investments. Next slide, please. A similar slide was presented last month in the Funding Plan Kickoff Workshop. We've updated and clarified it based on current state budget information, so we're all on the same page. There are two main updates. One is the approximately $132 million from the Air Pollution Control Fund for the Hino settlement, which is for the Clean Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Program, or HVIP. And two, funding from last year's budget that was shifted to the regional Clean Cars for All program and will be prioritized for air districts that have insufficient funds to meet demand. The key takeaway here is that the current budget does not include an appropriation for any of the community mobility projects we've discussed today. That said, it's important to note that even though the state budget for general fund dollars has been passed, the legislature and the governor's office are still negotiating the final budget for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. Also, the legislature has until the end of the legislative session on September 12th to pass bills that could amend the state budget by adding or removing funds that were previously appropriated. So while we're operating under the assumption that community mobility projects will not receive funding in fiscal year 2025 to 26, we want to be ready should the legislature decide to appropriate funding to these projects in the coming weeks and months. Next slide, please. Over the years, we've learned that there's far more demand for the clean mobility investments than what the state can provide. This slide focuses on Clean Mobility Options, or CMO, the oldest of these projects. For context, the regional pilots grants ranged from $500,000 to $6 million each, and statewide CMO's needs assessments range from $50,000 up to $100,000 each, and up to $1.8 million each for the mobility project vouchers. When CMO launched in 2014 to 15, only 13% of project applications received funding. Even in 2016 to 17, after funding more than doubled, only about 25% of applications were awarded grants. Not shown on the slide is a third solicitation in 2018, which was specifically for the agricultural worker Van Poel's pilot project. That solicitation received and funded one application. In CMO's current iteration as a statewide voucher pilot, both funding windows 1 and 2 have been able to fund more projects, but demand continues to outpace the available funds, especially for mobility project vouchers. Next slide, please. The newer projects have also been very competitive and oversubscribed in past funding rounds. For context, CMIS grants range from $5 million to $9 million each. STEP grants range from $3 million to $13 million each. And planning grants range from $100,000 up to $500,000 each. For example, in their first funding rounds, CMIS and STEP were only able to fund 41% and 18% of applications, respectively. In 2023, these two programs released a joint competitive request for applications and were able to fund just 30% of them. Planning grants were first solicited in 2023, and only 36% of applications were able to be awarded grants. Next slide, please. We'd like to hear your input on how future funding should be allocated across the clean mobility projects, pending the final budget for fiscal year 2025 to 26. As mentioned earlier, it's still uncertain whether any funding will be available this year. However, the topic is still being discussed in current state budget negotiations, so we want to be ready in case funding becomes available. These are some specific questions we'd like to pose to all of you that were also discussed in our work group on June 20th. First, we'd like to hear your thoughts on how funding should be allocated to the 4 projects. There are many possible ways to structure this. For example, in 2023 to 24, 1/6 of total funding went to planning, and the remaining 5/6 was split evenly among the other 3 projects. If you think a different approach would be better this year if funding comes our way, we'd like to hear your suggestions and what factors CARB should consider when making these decisions. Another configuration might be to provide more funding for planning grants. If that's something you'd like to recommend, we'd also like to hear from you about that. Lastly, we'd like to learn if you have other recommendations or discussion topic requests related to funding allocations. In our June 20th work group, feedback we heard from attendees included looking at the past amount of applications for each project to dictate where more funding should be allocated, that there are less opportunities for finding implementation grants, that there are many opportunities for schools to electrify through the mobility projects, and to consider previous feedback from community-based organizations, local agencies, and academic institutions. Next slide, please. We'd also like to share an update on a key part of the 2025 to 26 funding plan currently in development, the long-term plan for light-duty vehicles and clean mobility projects. This plan is CARB's long-term investment roadmap for clean transportation, covering both light-duty zero-emission vehicle incentives and the mobility projects. It will outline funding priorities and estimate the investment needed over the next 3 years to grow California's zero-emission vehicle market and expand clean mobility solutions in communities. For mobility projects, the previous plan assessed funding gaps, project needs, and factors like scalability and sustainability. This year, we'll focus on what's needed to maintain current funding levels and identify what it would take to expand these efforts. We'll share more details in upcoming funding plan workshops and our next mobility project work group. Next slide, please. As part of the funding plan process this year, we plan to schedule one more public work group for the clean mobility investments. The next one is scheduled for July 31st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For our next work group, anticipated presentation topics include research contracts and evaluations, outcomes and policy recommendations for CARB, mobility projects feedback and improvement, technical assistance, collaboration and networking efforts, financial sustainability challenges and needs, and the mobility marketing plan. Anticipated discussion and feedback topics include project-specific policy topics. After the funding plan process, when the board approves the 2025 to 26 funding plan in November, we'll continue to schedule public implementation work groups to continue engaging with you all. Dates, times, and topics for these work groups are still to be determined. That concludes my presentation. Thank you all for your time today, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good evening. My name is Robert Chester, and I'm staff here at CARB, and I will be facilitating the comments and questions this evening. We now want to open the floor for questions and comments regarding this part of the presentation. I would like to remind everyone that these evening meetings are intended for community members and individuals who are not affiliated with an organization or company to be able to share their thoughts, comments, and ask questions. Please make space to allow them to speak first, if at all possible. So now, to ask a question or make a comment, if you are on your desktop using Zoom, click Raise Hand under the Participants tab, or it may be under Reactions. If you are on a mobile platform using Zoom, tap Raise Hand in the More tab or under Reactions. If you are joining by phone, please press #2 to raise your hand. And once your line is open, please state your name and affiliation, if any, before speaking. Also, if you would prefer, you may email us questions and comments at cleantransportation@arb.ca.gov. This email address will also be posted in the chat. Okay, so the floor is now open. Also, to clarify, there will be another opportunity for questions and comments later on in this presentation. Currently have no emails. We'll wait another minute or two to see if anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment.
I know it's a lot of information for all of the new folks that are attending tonight. I know there's a few of you out there. So just keep in mind, we're all open. There are no wrong questions. We're open to everything, and you're online with a bunch of professionals that are here to help you. If there's any information that's new to you and you'd like to comment and say, this is a great project or program, I'd like to learn more about that, we can open up a conversation about that as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks, Adelina. Okay, well, in the interest of time, we do have another presentation to get to. So again, I would remind you that you will have additional opportunities later on to ask questions and make comments. I'm now going to hand things off to my colleague, Arvin.
Thanks, Robert. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arvin, and I serve as the lead coordinator for CARB's Clean Transportation and Equitable Mobility Community Tours. Last month, CARB held a Clean Transportation, Tribal and Rural Tour in San Diego County. And while we're still debriefing, we wanted to share early insights from this meaningful engagement with local tribal communities. This brief presentation covers the reason for planning the tours, where we went, who joined, which tribes hosted us, 3 key takeaways, a shout out to the planning team, And lastly, how to connect with us afterwards for the full recap with pictures. Next slide, please. So here's a bit of information about the tours. The purpose behind the tours are to offer a meaningful opportunity to understand the transportation barriers faced by residents in priority communities. At the same time, these engagements help surface practical opportunities and refine current programs to better meet community needs on the ground. We aim to host 2 to 3 community tours each year. Community-based organizations serving priority populations plan these tours with CARB by hosting on-site visits to share local transportation conditions and lived experiences directly with staff. The tours are intended for CARB staff and program administrators who oversee our suite of clean transportation, individual incentive projects, and community mobility incentive projects. The 4 objectives of these tours are to, 1, visit communities most impacted by pollution, climate change, and poverty. In other words, communities in greatest need of our clean transportation incentive program investments. 2, to learn about each community's unique local priorities, including clean transportation barriers and opportunities. 3, the tours help CARB staff shape policies that better reflect and respond to unique community identified needs, including those in smaller rural and tribal areas. The tours also inform the annual funding plan process by incorporating direct community input into program/project development and policymaking for how clean transportation investment funds are spent. And 4, lastly, the tours aim to facilitate trust and strengthen relationships through the meaningful dialogue between community-based groups, local leaders, and invited partner organizations. Next slide, please. So, with support from Jill Sherman Warren, Executive Director of the Native American Environmental Protection Coalition, CARB organized a 2-day San Diego County Tribal and Rural Clean Energy and Mobility Tour. The tour provided a valuable opportunity to strengthen government-to-government relationships, hear directly from tribal leaders, and better understand local transportation needs and environmental priorities. We engaged with 8 tribal communities. On day 1, we visited southern San Diego County tribes. On day 2, we visited northern San Diego County tribes. And each day began at our central meeting location, the Viejas Casino and Resort in Alpine, California. Next slide, please. Here's a slide to give you an idea of who else participated in the tour. It brought together state and regional agencies, private sector representatives, nonprofits, and CARB program administrators. Next slide, please. And here's the final breakdown of the tribes that we visited each day. On day 1, the Manzanita Band of Kumeyaay Nation, La Posta Band of Diegueño Mission Indians, Campo Kumeyaay Nation. And then on day 2, the Ipai Nation of Santa Isabel, La Joya Band of Luiseño Indians, Rincon Band of Luiseño Indians, and Pala Band of Mission Indians. Next slide, please. So based on conversations with each tribal organization during the tour, we identified 3 key takeaways: lack of infrastructure, limited access to reliable energy, and barriers in grant application processes. Lack of infrastructure. Tribal communities are often located in remote areas, making them heavily reliant on personal vehicles for transportation. The lack of paved roads further limits their vehicle options to vehicles capable of handling rough terrain, such as 4-wheel drive vehicles. While walking and biking were mentioned, the uneven and hilly terrain makes those modes impractical for regular use. Additionally, the remoteness of these communities presents significant challenges in building out reliable energy infrastructure. The high cost and logistical difficulties associated with these efforts continue directly into the next takeaway: access to reliable energy. Many tribes struggle with unreliable electricity and frequent rolling blackouts. These issues hinder the ability to power essentials such as internet access, water wells, refrigerators, and home cooling systems, services that are critical to community health and safety. Due to the lack of consistent power, many tribes depend on diesel and propane backup generators. However, these come with challenges, such as costly refueling, pollution concerns from nearby residents, and limited ability to support long-term scale energy needs. This energy instability directly impacts efforts to adopt clean mobility and energy technologies, such as battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, and fuel cell vehicles, as well as solar power systems. Without reliable power, investments in these technologies become less feasible and practical. Grant application barriers. The final key takeaway centers on systemic barriers tribes face in accessing grant funding. These include 1, limited staffing capacity to apply for and administer grants, especially compared to gaming-backed tribes with dedicated staff. 2, unreliable internet and phone access, which impedes the completion of complex online grant applications. 3, burden of paperwork and administrative requirements, which strain already limited resources. And lastly, limited waivers of sovereignty, immunity, which were identified as a barrier by tribal leadership during the tour. CARB acknowledges these challenges and remains committed to continued dialogue and partnership with tribes, along with our partner state agencies on pursuing solutions and improvements through our programs. We're now planning a follow-up meeting to discuss how we'll use tour feedback and identify next steps and recommendations. We'll also be posting a more in-depth recap of the tour on our CARB Environmental Justice blog soon. More info on this in a coming slide. Next slide, please. So we owe a huge thanks to Jill Sherman Warren, a Hoopa Tribal member, Executive Director of NAPEC, member of the Cal EPA Tribal Advisory Committee, and member of CARB's Environmental Justice Advisory Committee. Jill was incredibly thoughtful when planning this tour, and her insights and strong relationships with tribal communities are what made this tour meaningful and memorable for all participants. From coordinating the itinerary with tribal representatives to managing logistics and participating in multiple planning sessions with CARB. Jill's contributions were essential, and we couldn't have done it without her. Also, big thanks to the CARB Tribal Tour Planning Team for their key role in this initiative, involving CARB staff from multiple divisions and the Tribal Affairs team at CalSTAR, one of CARB's program administrators. Next slide, please. So thank you. As mentioned earlier, we encourage you to stay connected with us if you would like to see more highlights from the tour and keep up with recaps of CARB outreach events by following our Environmental Justice blog for full recaps, upcoming opportunities, and CARB outreach efforts. If you wish to connect about this tour, you can contact me at the information shared here. I'm also a Clean Transportation Regional Outreach Coordinator covering the SoCal region. Handed it back over to Robert.
Thank you, Arvin. Okay, folks. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'm going to open the floor again for questions and comments. If you are on your desktop on Zoom, please click raise hand under the participants tab or under reactions. If you are on a mobile platform using Zoom, please tap raise hand in the more tab or under reactions or react. If you are on the phone, please press #2 to raise your hand. Once your line is open, state your name and affiliation if you have one before speaking. If you would prefer to submit a comment or question via email, please email your questions to cleantransportationincentives@arb.ca.gov. Okay. No emails yet. Thank you, Kirsten. Still see no hands. Wait a moment. Okay, folks, I don't see any hands. We have no emails yet, I don't believe. So at this time, I want to remind everybody to please use the contacts or the email that you have if you do think of things after this meeting that you would like to discuss or leave a comment or ask a question. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And I'm going to hand things back over to Adelina.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. We wanted to give folks plenty of time to form thoughts and opinions, to gather feedback. Next slide, please. Thank you, William. All right, we appreciate everyone's time and collaboration. Before signing off, we'd like to share some upcoming events with you all. We think these are items you may be interested in attending. Next slide. All right. As mentioned earlier, June and July are more intensive months to collaborate with everyone to develop the proposed funding plan. In August, we'll discuss the draft ideas in a workshop and recap that information at the next evening community meeting a few days later. Staff will then write the proposed plan and post it to the website, our website, on October 10th, when you'll have an opportunity to review and comment on the plan for 30 days. We'll have an evening community meeting on October 21st to discuss the proposed plan and answer your questions and listen to your comments. We'll present the proposed funding plan and hear verbal comments at the November 20th board meeting. We encourage you to attend that as well if you can. I'd like to close with a quick reminder that these evening community meetings are held every third Tuesday of the month, excluding the month of November due to the funding plan being presented to the board. We also may need to shift things around a day or two, but we do our best to keep consistent with the third Tuesday. And we know that's important to folks as well. To join any mentioned meetings, please visit our events page. We'll have a staff member drop that in the chat. Next slide, please. And before we end, I do want to emphasize to everyone that we have an open door policy, especially for those that are most affected by our incentive projects. We encourage you to contact us if you would like to meet with staff to discuss your needs, concerns, or even potential solutions. We'd love to hear from you. We have online forms to request a one-on-one meeting. This link will be shared in the chat. You can also reach out via email at any of the emails listed on the slide. The email at the Clean Transportation Incentives at CARB or at arb.ca.gov. I'll have someone drop that in the chat as well. We are here to listen and help the best that we can. Let's see. Am I on the right slide? Yes, I am. Okay. I just want to say again to everyone, thank you for attending tonight's meeting. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Pages.
Adeline, I think we had two announcements you wanted to share for two additional events.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was also looking for our listserv link, but it doesn't look like it's in here. I'll have to add that later. So before we end, we can open the floor up for any other events people might have
Selena,
that they'd like to talk about.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify the listserv. It's on the engagement opportunities webpage link. There's a link within that page for the meeting requests, the listserv, the calendar link, and there's another thing in there too. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right. I'm like, where is it? Okay. Yeah, there were a couple announcements that some other folks wanted to talk about. We can open that up for right now.
I'll jump in really quick. I did want to share that CARB is hosting a one-stop truck event in San Bernardino, California. And this will be on Wednesday, August 13th from 9 to 1 p.m. So these events are put together by the Training and Community Support section of the Compliance and Outreach branch here at CARB. And these events are done throughout California. They offer insight, education, and lots of resources about CARB's clean truck and diesel regulations, including, this includes also compliance and funding information. So if you attend these events, you can expect to listen to presentations, participate in one-on-one discussions, also listen to panel discussions from local heavy duty and clean technology industry leaders, and then also meet with CARB staff, including myself and the team I'm part of. So if you want more information or to register for these events, or if you know anyone that might be interested in attending, please share the information and the link that will be dropped in the chat. These events are pretty popular, so we recommend that you register for the event, and hope to see you there.
Thanks, Noemi. I think Andrea might have some more information.
Yes.
Or event.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Morgan. I am a manager here at CARB over some of our compliance assistance and outreach branches or section. But wanted to share a quick update that several state agencies, including CARB, will be holding a series of public sessions to inform additional actions to advance adoption of zero emission cars, trucks, and buses in California. So this effort follows an executive order by Governor Gavin Newsom in response to illegal federal actions to revoke California's Clean Air Act waivers. These sessions will bring together policymakers, experts, and leaders from the environmental and scientific communities, automotive and trucking industries, fleet operators, community groups, and the public to discuss a variety of issues, including infrastructure, incentives, partnerships, and emission reduction strategies. So these meetings are being held on July 21st in Fresno as an in-person meeting, July 23rd in Sacramento, again, an in-person meeting, and then July 31st in Long Beach. Additionally, there will be one listening session that will be held virtually during the evening, though that meeting has not yet been scheduled. I'll drop a link in the chat to where more information about these listening sessions can be found, but certainly encourage anyone who's interested in participating in any of those in-person or virtual listening sessions.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for the reminder. I almost forgot to add that part. So Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for spending your evening with us. We appreciate your time, and our door is always open. So with that, we will end. Have a good evening.